Hi everyone, Isabella Sand here. I'm starting off with our Q&A that I mentioned earlier last week. I'm bringing on the head of TBG Real Estate, Chris Papa.
Hi.
So I just kind of want to ask you a couple of questions, Chris. So you work on the East Coast and the West Coast, and so I just wanted to have you add some insight onto what you've seen in the markets and kind of candidates making the move from the East Coast to the West Coast or West Coast to East Coast.
Good question. Well, New York is a much larger market for real estate jobs. Like I always say, like LA, like Hollywood's the big player out there, and then in San Francisco it's tech, and then New York, and then DC is politics, and then New York is real estate and financial services. So, the president of the United States is a real estate guy, right?
Yeah.
There's a big real estate spread. There's real estate people here are famous. It's a big market here, so I would say it's usually, people in the West Coast usually they'll take bankers or people working at large firms. Because they're from New York and move them out there because they're used to working New York hours. New York hours, you work your tail off here. You work your tail off there too. It's becoming more institutionalized on the West Coast, real estate. When I moved out there 8.5 years ago into the Bay Area, there's a lot of smaller mom and pop shops, a lot of satellite offices for New York shops. Now it's becoming a more institutional asset class. Offices are getting bigger out there. It's becoming a hotter industry.
Yeah.
The salaries have gone up. When I was out there, I think salaries were way off compared to New York. Now they're becoming more in line with New York salaries. So the world's getting smaller and the coasts are getting smaller.
Yeah.
So, but as far as making the transition, there's a lot more jobs in New York generally.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the West Coast companies really like taking people who have worked a couple years in New York. So it's not easy. Anyway you slice it, it's not easy moving from one, because you got to interview, you got to fly across the country, and it's not that easy. But I would say it's definitely doable. If you're a stellar candidate, whether you're in New York, San Francisco, LA, Dallas, Texas, whatever, people are going to want to hire you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's awesome. And then another question I had for you is that you do a podcast. You and Mickey, another associate on our TBG real estate team, you guys have really interviewed a lot of cool, interesting people, and I wanted to hear your insight and kind of have you tell us some cool things you learned.
Everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Right. There's some people where it's like, all right, we grew up, went to Harvard, started at Blackstone, worked their way up. That's a rare case. Most people. I've interviewed people that were born in war-torn countries in Africa, and had to travel for a week, with their, walking with their mother when they were kids, with a bottle of milk, literally. It takes passion, it takes hard work, but there's no one avenue into real estate. So, my advice to anyone, what I've learned is that follow your passion. You never know where you're going to end up. Take chances. Fortune favors the bold, right?
Yeah.
So go after your dreams. I think that, I've seen people, and real estate, it's a small industry, but there's a lot of niches in real estate, right? There's multifamily, you got the big core asset classes, but there's all little niches within those asset classes. There's co-living. There's prop tech is a big one now. So
that's really booming.
Prop tech is big, and there's a lot of listen to the podcast. The advice is most people say is if you find a need within the real estate industry that isn't being covered, just double down, go into it, find a way to address that need, and make a business out of it.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I think that's a great note to end on with Chris. Thank you so much for coming in. I love to hear your story, and look forward to hearing from you guys more. Keep the questions coming. My email has been flooded, and so I'll see you guys hopefully next week.
Thank you.